developing those DB core fundamentals. The second, obviously, and they're all equally important, but the second area is your feet, okay? And what we talk to our guys about with the feet is the first and most important thing is the stance, okay? You've got to play out of a great stance. It's got to be comfortable, but you can't play with your hips up, with your knees straight, with your upper body straight. You've got to be in a football position, whether you're square, you know, what we teach, if we're in a press alignment, our feet are pretty much square together with a slight stagger, okay? Knees bent, flexion in our hips, butt up, eyes on our targets, hands ready to be physical, okay? We have a tilt stance where we're now open. We're more open at a 45 degrees with peripheral vision on our key, but eyes inside on the quarterback, all right? And then obviously we have a staggered stance if we're in a true off alignment, if we're a corner, okay? We're in an inside stagger, okay? At about 8 yards down with our eyes inside, sometimes even slightly tilted as well. And then if we're safety, we'll have an outside stagger, knowing most of the time we're opening up with some width, okay? But you can see based on the diagram to the left, don't worry about the transitions yet, but it's basically square, tilt, and stagger, okay? Another key element of footwork, and you'll see it over and over again, whether it be D linemen, linebackers, or obviously I'm talking about DBs, is the start. Making sure the pressure in their stance is in the right spot so that when that receiver moves or that key moves for me, that I step in accordance with my proper footwork. Some of our best players, as we're watching cut-ups right now, whether it be in man coverage and stepping up, or whether it be in some zone coverage and we're stepping back before we take a read step, they false step too much, okay? Because they don't really understand how really important it is to play out of a good stance and take a primary first step. So whether it be press, you know, in our press technique, we're either going to leverage hand jam, which means we're going to step, if we're inside leverage, we're going to short step with our inside foot, okay? We're going to press with our inside hand, okay? Step, it's coordinated. Whether we're mirror jamming, whether we're leverage we're in, we're mirroring the release, our hands are up. If he releases outside, then I step with my outside foot and jam with my inside hand, or vice versa, okay? So we've got to mirror his step and jam with the opposite hand, which we are much more of a leverage hand jam because it's easier for the secondary players, but again, we have to understand the start there. In the tilt, okay, we're either going to be in a tilt, a stagger, or inch. We got to be weight on our upfield foot. Okay, so whatever our stance is, we're going to weight on our upfield foot so we can push back as opposed to step forward if we're moving back. If I'm in my tilt alignment, my weight is on my upfield foot because I'm going to push off that foot, step and grab grass with my downfield foot as I start to inch out of there, as I start to shuffle out of there or skate out of there. And then obviously if I'm inching out, I'll get up in a press alignment, hands up, all right? I'm going to have my feet slightly staggered. My staggered foot will be the push-off foot as I inch back and take a proper first step so I don't false step. Footwork. So once, you know, it's not just about footwork and that's all it is. You've got that play of a great stance. You've got to have a great start to the drill. And then obviously the four main footworks that we teach our players that you'll see on film is we teach a bail crossover run, maintaining leverage. Got to do a great job with that. You'll see us in press alignment a lot, whether we're pressing and bailing in 3 deep or whether we're pressing and bailing in a 2-to-1 read. We're up in a press alignment. If the quarterback and my indicator number 2 is up to the inside to my right, okay, I'm going to slightly stagger my feet, slight stagger with my left foot slightly up, my right foot slightly back, and on the snap of the football, I'm going to push off my left foot, open up on my right, and out now if I'm in a 2-to-1 read, I'm looking number 2 is one of those chairs. If he breaks, I can stick my foot in the ground and transition, all right? Or if I'm in a true 3-deep bail divider where I'm bailing and dividing, bailing and dropping to my divider, which is the top of the numbers. Same situation, I know I'm bailing to the inside. I'll slightly stagger my inside foot to be square in my press alignment. Then I'm bailing at the snap, grabbing grass with my upfield foot, crossover running, and maintaining leverage on my divider as it relates to my progression, okay? We also have skate technique. Skate technique is very similar to the bail technique, but instead of crossover running, We're up in our press at the snap of the ball. Again, if I know inside is my indicator, number 2, slight inside stagger, outside foot up, hands up because I'm going to make it look like I'm pressing. On the snap of the ball, I open up, step with my upfield foot, and instead of crossover running here now, what I do is I'm skating and shuffling basically parallel to the sidelines, knowing that immediately upon number 2 going to the flat underneath the linebackers, I've got to stick and drive. Okay, we'll only use that technique when we're running our read cover 2 or read cover 4. Shuffle technique up in a press alignment. Shuffle is a lateral technique when we're playing cover 2 or rolling our coverage, whether it be our 3 deep rolls by the corner, whether it be cloud strong or kick weak. We have the ability to roll our coverage in that regard. So obviously now, again, same thing. We're up in a press alignment. Now instead of bailing at the release, which we do in our bail technique and our skate footwork, now we're working laterally. So if I'm playing cover 2, again, assuming the camera is number 1 is now my key because I'm progressing off of him. Okay, on his release, if he releases outside, I step and basically mirror footwork and try to get my hands on that receiver, but I will mirror and work flat, my butt down, eyes on my target, and then obviously, as everybody else, one of our other big footworks is to work a pedal. You've got the stance, you've got the start, you've got the footwork. The most important element of those 4 is the transition. You may be a little bit ugly or a little bit, some work may need to be cleaned up, but you've got to do a great job of transitioning. Okay? When we talk about transitions, we talk about a T-plant on all downhill and all lateral breaks. So if I'm pedaling and I've got a break to my left, okay, I'm pedaling, I will T-step, put my right foot in the ground, boom, and I always will step in the direction with my toe pointed forward towards my target. So I pedal, T-step, step and replace, and break on a 45-degree angle or break on an angle that defends the route that I'm seeing. Same thing, obviously, if I'm pedaling, okay, and I get a route back to the inside, T-step and drive, whether it be drive on a 45-degree angle on a slant, whether it be drive on a more of a 90-degree angle versus a dig or a curl, but I've got a T-step and break. And then obviously we're going to hip flip on any vertical breaks. If I'm pedaling out of there, I'm pedaling out, down in my stance, and I get an outside break and release, I got to flip my hip, okay, turn and run in man progression off of that guy if we're playing quarters. If it's a 3 deep deal, we've already bailed on our divider, okay, and now I just got to close it off and pin and wedge him to the sidelines with my eyes on the quarterback. But as far as just the transitions, we either are basically T-stepping or we're flipping our hips in one way or direction based on the coverage that's called. Now, a daily must for us with our transitions is we're going to do the transition tree as much as we possibly can. And if you look up here, and maybe the camera can focus a little bit, if you can't, then you do your best to try to see it. But what that is that is a break in every direction that you'll see on the football field. Okay? And whether you start from this position, essentially you'll pedal and flip your hips, working straight back. Okay? 180. Whether you'll pedal and drive right back down the stem. Whether you pedal and break on a 45 to the left, 45 to the right as the DB looks at it, 45 downhill or 45 downhill, 90 either way. And we will do that out of all 4 footworks. So we'll do our transition tree out of bail. We'll do our transition tree out of our skate technique, footwork. We'll do our transition tree even out of the shuffle. Okay? You don't really have to break as much downhill on the shuffle, but you've got to break on a 45 a ton. If you're getting 7 cuts, you got to break on a 180 a ton either way, obviously if they're the left corner or the right corner, but we'll do that out of the shuffle, and then obviously we'll do it out of a pedal. So each of our defensive players has got to master, and they can do this transition tree on their own. With the key coaching points of maintaining a low pad level, okay, doing a great job with your pad level, having a great body lean, all right, and then really, and the most important thing is with their transitions is you've got to stick your foot in the ground and you've got to be able to accelerate out of your transitions. Going back to how important it is to play fast. If you're a guy that you stick your foot in your transition, you keep your body back or your hips are locked, you don't have loose hips, You can't pedal, boom, step and replace. You can't flip your hips, turn and run and transition to a deep ball. You've got to be somebody that gets out of that transition and can accelerate, okay, to where he's going. So it's critical, these areas in terms of developing the footwork. We always start every drill out of a great stance, one that's practical to the coverages that we have in. We have a great start, making sure they don't false step, that they step in the proper relationship to the technique. Obviously, the four main areas are the four primary areas of footwork. And then obviously taking that footwork to the transitions is critical in having great footwork and improving our feet as a DB.